You know that feeling when you think you found the one? Yeah, I had that. I married this insanely captivating girl named Alice. By captivating, I mean she could go anywhere and fill the entire space with her energy. People would just gravitate toward her. You know the type, full of life, witty, that kind of charm that gets under your skin in a good way. I was head over heels, man. But here's the thing, maybe we rushed into marriage. I mean, it's easy to ignore those tiny warning signs when you're still in the honeymoon phase, right? Spoiler alert, those tiny warning signs? Yeah, they can grow into full-blown red flags, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Trust me, you'll see soon enough. Anyway, we're both young, ambitious, and hungry for life. I just landed this sweet job, something I'd been aiming for forever, and I was ready to focus on building a future, both career-wise and family-wise. Things seemed perfect at first. We even scored this beautiful house. I'm talking a dream rental. Lush green lawn, spacious rooms, big windows, a perfect backyard for barbecues. It felt like a fresh start. Alice and I were so pumped that we decided to throw a housewarming party. You know, invite friends, have some barbecue, enjoy a few drinks. It was shaping up to be a great evening. Now, here's where things get interesting. Right before the party, Alice and I had a little disagreement. Okay, scratch that. It was more like a full-on standoff. We were talking about cars. You see, our old cars were falling apart. Embarrassments, really. We both agreed it was time to upgrade and maybe take out a loan for a new one. Sounds simple, right? Nope. I had my heart set on a Toyota 4Runner, a big, sturdy SUV. I could already picture us taking weekend camping trips, hauling all our gear with ease. Plus, it's practical. Tons of space for groceries, furniture, whatever life throws at you. I was excited about it. But Alice, oh no. She was dead set on something sleek, like a sports car or a convertible. Her reasoning? Life's too short to drive boring cars, she said. Yeah, she wasn't thinking about utility. She wanted a car that would turn heads and make people jealous. It turned into this back-and-forth argument where neither of us would budge. We didn't scream or anything, but man, the tension was thick. Eventually we called a truce. We agreed to put the conversation on hold until after the party. But here's the thing about Alice. Compromise isn't exactly her strong suit. When she sets her sights on something, she doesn't back down. Hell, she'll bulldoze her way through to get it if she has to. I thought the argument was over for now, but oh, how wrong I was. Fast forward a few hours. Guests started arriving. The house was buzzing with energy. Laughter, clinking glasses, music, the smell of barbecue wafting through the air. Everything seemed normal, even fun. I was starting to relax, thinking maybe the worst was behind us. Little did I know Alice had plans, big plans. And let me tell you, what came next would hit me like a brick to the face. I was relaxed. Everything seemed perfect. It was an illusion, or the calm before the storm. At first, everything was going great. People were laughing, music was playing, and the grill was heating up. We were a couple of beers deep, and everyone was getting loose. Conversations started flowing, jumping from travel plans to favorite movies to, I don't know, who makes the best barbecue sauce. It was the kind of relaxed, easygoing vibe I'd been hoping for. But then Alice, well, she couldn't help herself. She had that glint in her eye. You know, the one that says, I'm about to say something outrageous. And oh man, did she ever. Alice poured herself another glass of wine, gave this dramatic sigh like she'd just survived the world's biggest catastrophe, and said loudly enough for the whole backyard to hear, So, Stephen and I had a huge fight about cars the other day. I swear, we almost killed each other. We just couldn't agree at all. Like, I have no idea what we're gonna do. The crowd hushed a little. Everyone loves a juicy story, right? She continued, clearly enjoying the spotlight. I wanted something stylish, like a convertible. You know, the kind of car where you can feel the wind in your hair, sun on your face. Just pure freedom. But Stephen? No. He's all, we need a big car, something practical and spacious. Practical? Seriously? She rolled her eyes in the most over-the-top way and raised her glass like she was making a toast. We all know why men want these huge cars. It's the classic compensation move. The bigger the car, the smaller the... Well, you know what I mean. The crowd burst out laughing. One guy slapped the table and shouted, "Exactly why I drive a smart car, if you catch my drift." I tried to keep my cool, but my face was burning. She wasn't done yet. Oh no. Alice wasn't one to miss a chance to twist the knife. With a devilish grin, she scanned the snack table, grabbed a tiny pickle, and held it up for everyone to see. The laughter was already deafening, but then she added, "For example, this. This is what we're talking about, folks. This is what's under the hood of these guys' giant trucks." The laughter exploded. I saw a couple of my friends actually fall out of their chairs. Alice, ever the performer, wasn't finished. She brought the pickle close to her face and put on a high-pitched voice, pretending to speak for it. "I need compensation. I need cover. Oh God, it's a Toyota 4Runner. Now everyone will envy my size." Even Claire, Alice's best friend, was wiping tears from her eyes. "Alice, you're a comedy genius," she gasped. Meanwhile, I was sitting there with a forced smile, my jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. Inside, I was fuming. But oh no, the humiliation train wasn't stopping there. That's when Samantha, another friend of Alice's, decided to jump in. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through Instagram. "Oh, honey, if the problem's that small, there's a solution. Look, here's a plastic surgeon who specializes in male enhancements. 5 stars. Tons of followers." The guys at the party were literally rolling on the ground at this point. One of them wheezed out, "Stephen, maybe it's time to schedule an appointment." "And Alice?" She smirked and fired back without missing a beat. "Well, I don't think we can afford that right now. First, we gotta get my dream convertible. But who knows? Maybe one day. In the meantime, my therapist says I need to work on patience, so I guess I'll just have to wait until we pay off the car loan." More laughter, more jokes. It felt like a firing squad of humiliation. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to get the hell out of there before I said something I couldn't take back. I stood up, walked out to the grill, and started messing with the barbecue. It was the only way I could keep myself from snapping. But of course, one of the guys, Jason I think, followed me out, still chuckling like an idiot. "Hey man, don't take it so seriously. We're just messing around. You good?" I didn't even look at him. I just kept flipping the burgers and muttered through gritted teeth, "Yeah, sure, I'm fine, totally fine." Jason laughed and clapped me on the shoulder. "Come on, dude, don't be like that. You're the king of pickles now." That did it. I spun around, spat out, "You can all go to hell. I'm fine, okay? There's nothing wrong with me." Jason just grinned, unfazed. Yeah, we believe you, Mr. Pickle." I could hear more laughter coming from the house. My fists clenched involuntarily. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was humiliated. And the worst part? The person who was supposed to have my back was leading the charge. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I don't know how I made it through the rest of that party without blowing up. Every second felt like a test of willpower. People kept patting me on the back, cracking more stupid jokes. I nodded, forced a laugh here and there, but inside I was boiling. Finally, everyone started leaving. When the door shut behind the last guest, I turned to Alice. "What the hell was that?" I asked, my voice low but shaking with anger. "Why would you humiliate me like that? What were you thinking?" Alice blinked at me like I'd just asked her why the sky was blue. She wasn't apologetic. Hell, she wasn't even taking me seriously. Instead, she gave this lazy half-smirk and said, "Oh, come on, Stephen. It was just jokes. Everyone was having fun." I stared at her in disbelief. "Fun? You call that fun? You turned me into a goddamn punchline, Alice." She sighed like I was being a huge buzzkill. Then, with that same carefree attitude, she added, "Well, at least everyone got the metaphor about the big car. So I hope you understand now. We need a convertible." My jaw dropped. That was it? She dragged me through the mud in front of all our friends just to push her agenda for a new car. The fury inside me hit a whole new level. Wait a minute. So you're telling me that, just to push the idea of getting a convertible, you thought it was okay to humiliate me and make me a laughingstock? She gave a tired chuckle and waved a hand, like I was blowing this out of proportion. Oh, Stephen, stop being so sensitive. It was funny. Everyone was laughing. You need to learn to take a joke and develop some self-irony. Self-irony? Are you serious? I fired back. Alice, you didn't just tease me. You made me look like some kind of insecure loser with... I don't even want to say it. And now everyone thinks I've got complexes about, you know? Alice just rolled her eyes. Oh, please, it's not like it's a lie. I mean, I've seen bigger. The room went silent. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. What did you just say? I asked slowly, my voice dangerously low. Seen bigger? What the hell is that supposed to mean? When exactly did you see bigger? She laughed nervously, waving me off. Relax, I'm joking. Don't take it so seriously. You're so wound up tonight. Joking? I said, shaking my head. Alice, do you have any idea how messed up this is? You think it's funny to make your husband look pathetic in front of everyone? When you humiliate me, you humiliate yourself. You're disrespecting me and our marriage. And your jokes? They're not just jokes. They're straight-up insults. You're crossing every line here. For a moment I thought maybe, just maybe, my words would get through to her. But no. Instead, she yawned and gave me a look that said she was done with the conversation. Oh, stop whining, Stephen. I'm exhausted. Let's just go to bed, okay? And seriously, man up. I don't need a lecture on behavior right now. With that, she turned and headed up the stairs, leaving me standing there like an idiot. My fists clenched, my heart pounded in my ears. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I stayed in the living room, too pissed off to follow her. There was no way in hell I was sharing a bed with her tonight. I grabbed a blanket, threw myself on the couch, and stared at the ceiling. My mind was racing. This wasn't the Alice I thought I married. Or maybe it was. Maybe I just hadn't seen this side of her until now. The charming, fun-loving girl I fell for was gone, replaced by someone cold, dismissive, and ruthless. I felt like the mask had finally slipped, and what I saw underneath wasn't pretty. For the first time, I started questioning everything. How far would she go next time? What else was she capable of? The thought sent a chill down my spine. I buried my face in my hands and sighed. What the hell did I get myself into? I muttered to no one. Sleep didn't come easy that night. The image of Alice's smug face and the sound of her voice, "I've seen bigger," kept replaying in my head like a broken record. The days after that party felt heavy, like I was dragging an invisible weight everywhere I went. Alice's words and that damn pickle joke echoed in my mind at the worst moments. But I didn't bring it up again. I couldn't. Work had piled up, and I was drowning in deadlines. I figured maybe some space would help cool things down between us. Maybe she'd realize she crossed a line. Spoiler alert, she didn't. Weeks went by, and I was so caught up with work that I didn't notice Alice was up to something, until one day I heard the unmistakable sound of a brand new engine pulling into our driveway. I went outside and nearly dropped my coffee. There it was. A brand new fire-red BMW 4 Series convertible. Not just any red either, Vegas red metallic. Alice hopped out of the car like she was walking the red carpet, her face lit up with excitement. Surprise, babe! Isn't she gorgeous? I stood there in stunned silence. My brain scrambled to make sense of what I was seeing. How the hell had she pulled this off without even mentioning it to me? Alice, what is this? I finally managed to ask, though my voice sounded distant even to me. She flashed a dazzling smile and ran her hand across the sleek hood. It's my dream car. Remember? We talked about it. The convertible? Talked about it? No, we argued about it. And I was very clear that we weren't on the same page. You bought this? I asked slowly. Well, yeah. Someone had to make a decision. I couldn't let this opportunity slip by. I could feel the anger bubbling beneath my skin. You couldn't let it slip by? Alice, do you even hear yourself? You just dropped $65,000 on a car without telling me. She raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed by my reaction. Stephen, we've been over this. We needed a new car, and it's not like I bought it outright. I put down a deposit and financed the rest. Wait, you financed it? With what money? Her eyes flicked to the side for a moment, just a flicker of guilt, and that's when I knew. You used our joint account, didn't you? I said, my voice tightening. Alice didn't deny it. Of course I did. It's our account, Stephen. We're married. This is our life, our dream. I just set up automatic payments. It's no big deal. No big deal? I was practically shaking with rage now. Alice, you drained our account to buy a luxury car we didn't agree on. You didn't even ask me. You just went ahead and did it like my opinion doesn't matter at all. She crossed her arms, looking at me like I was the unreasonable one. Oh, stop being so dramatic. I'm your wife. Don't you want me to be happy? What? I stared at her dumbfounded. Are you seriously trying to justify this by saying I should just accept whatever you want? Alice sighed like she was dealing with a child. Stephen, you're overthinking this. Nothing bad happened. I got my dream car and now I'm happy. Isn't that what matters? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. No, Alice. What matters is mutual respect. You didn't even consult me. You don't care about my input, my opinion. She rolled her eyes again. Oh my God, Stephen. Respect, respect, respect. You sound like you're stuck in the 1950s. Look, your dad might have run the house like some patriarch, but newsflash, it's a new world. Women can make decisions now. It's not a big deal. I froze at that comment. My parents flashed in my mind. My mom always respected my dad's role in the family, and they made decisions together. That wasn't old-fashioned. That was basic decency. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Alice, this isn't about gender roles or stereotypes. It's about partnership. You don't get to just bulldoze your way through every decision and expect me to smile about it. She shrugged. Stephen, seriously? Chill. You're making this into a bigger issue than it is. Nothing's wrong, so why are you so worked up? I didn't have words. I just stood there, my hands clenching and unclenching. Every instinct in me screamed that this wasn't sustainable. If Alice couldn't even acknowledge the problem, where did that leave us? As she walked back inside, humming to herself like she hadn't just detonated our marriage, I stayed outside. My mind raced with questions, rhetorical maybe, but I couldn't help it. Is this how it's always going to be? Am I supposed to just shut up and accept being treated like this? Can a marriage survive without respect? The answers weren't comforting. For the first time, the word divorce crossed my mind. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to consider it, but here I was. I couldn't keep living like this, not with someone who didn't care about my feelings, my input, or the very concept of partnership. I rubbed my temples, letting out a long breath. What the hell do I do now? Before you find out what happens next, please subscribe to the channel. Divorce. The word was hanging over my head like a dark cloud. It's funny how life flips on you. One minute you think you've found your forever person, and the next, you're standing in your own driveway, questioning everything. But here's the thing. Divorce isn't something you just jump into. There are a million thoughts that flood your brain. You start asking yourself all these questions. Am I giving up too easily? Should I fight harder for this marriage? Is it even possible to fix something when the other person doesn't think they've done anything wrong? I mean, marriage is supposed to be a partnership, right? But how do you make that work when your partner doesn't even respect you? I know some of you reading this are probably shaking your heads like, dude, what are you even waiting for? And hey, I get it. In hindsight, I probably looked like the biggest idiot for dragging this out. Hell, go ahead and tell me in the comments. Hey Stephen, how many incidents has Alice pulled so far? Count 'em up. Also, feel free to call me an idiot for hesitating on the whole divorce thing. But while I was busy drowning in my philosophical crisis, Alice decided to up the ante. And let me tell you, this next incident was a real doozy. See, Alice had been living her best life with that red BMW convertible. Every chance she got, she'd be out cruising around with her girls. They'd hit up brunch spots, go shopping, and just flaunt their car like it was a trophy. It was like she was in some real-life episode of The Real Housewives. Annoying? Sure. But that wasn't the worst of it. No, the worst part came in the form of a social media stunt. Alice and her friends apparently thought it'd be hilarious to shoot some funny TikTok and Instagram videos. The concept? They'd pull up to random guys walking on the street and start hitting on them. Yeah, just picture that for a second. They'd shout stuff like, "Hey, cutie, need a ride?" Or, "Hop in, we're going for a wild night." The whole thing was a parody of those sleazy dudes who roll up to women in sports cars, trying to impress them. But instead of being playful and harmless, it came across as, I don't know, just cringy and borderline inappropriate. I came across the videos on Instagram, and trust me, you'd have to see it to believe it. Some of the guys in the videos looked completely thrown off, blushing, stammering, awkwardly laughing. Others, they played along like it was the best thing to happen to them all week. A few even hopped into the damn car, grinning like idiots. Now, maybe it was all staged for views. Maybe those guys were actors or willing participants. I mean, this is social media. Half of it's fake anyway. But whether it was real or not, I didn't care. The point was, I had to find out about this from the internet. Alice didn't even have the decency to tell me she was out there making a spectacle of herself. And, by extension, me. Can you imagine the second-hand embarrassment? People I know might have seen those videos. My colleagues might have seen them. And there was my wife, acting like a hormonal teenager, chasing clout for likes and views. I slammed my phone down on the table and rubbed my temples. This wasn't just about a couple of dumb videos. It was about respect, or the complete lack of it. Alice didn't respect me. She didn't respect our marriage. And she sure as hell didn't care how her actions reflected on either of us. Something had to give. Had. When Alice got home that evening, I was ready for a serious conversation. No more passive frustration. No more letting things slide. I had watched enough of her antics, and those TikTok videos were the last straw. As soon as she walked through the door, all smiles, I stood in the living room, arms crossed, waiting for her to notice that I wasn't in the mood. "We need to talk," I said, my voice calm but firm. She gave me a puzzled look, then dropped her purse on the couch and kicked off her shoes. "Oof! Heavy vibes! What's going on?" "Those videos, Alice. The ones where you and your friends were catcalling random guys off the street. What the hell were you thinking?" She blinked in surprise for a moment before laughing. "Oh my God, you're talking about the TikToks? Seriously? Come on, Stephen, it's just for fun. It's content, creativity for views. Everyone's doing it. There's nothing bad about it." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "You didn't even tell me about it. I had to find out through social media. Why didn't you say anything?" Alice shrugged, clearly not seeing the issue. "Why would I need to tell you? I'm not obligated to give you a play-by-play of every little thing I do." "Play-by-play? Alice, this isn't little. You're out there flirting with random guys on camera for the world to see. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Do you even care how that makes me look?" She raised an eyebrow. "Embarrassing? Oh, please. It's not like I'm cheating on you. We're just filming reactions. That's the point. It's authentic. Real reactions from random people on the street. Some of them play along, sure, but there's nothing illegal about that." I clenched my jaw. "Wait. You're telling me those guys in the videos are real? Like, not actors? You're actually picking up random dudes and driving them around?" She waved a hand dismissively. "Relax, Stephen. Yeah, a few of them hopped in the car. We talked, laughed, that's it. It's harmless. You're acting like I'm running a criminal operation or something. Harmless." She kept throwing that word around like it justified everything. I couldn't take it anymore. "You don't get it, do you? You're putting yourself and our marriage on display like it's a joke. You're making me and us look like fools, and you don't even care." Alice rolled her eyes and sighed, clearly bored with the conversation. "God, you're so uptight. It's not that deep. You need to lighten up." That was it. I couldn't argue anymore. What was the point? She wasn't going to listen. I grabbed my keys, walked past her without another word, and got in my car. I needed space. I ended up at a bar a few miles away, one of those quiet places where no one asks questions. I ordered a whiskey, sat at the counter, and just stared at the glass for a while. The frustration, the embarrassment, the complete lack of respect, it was all weighing on me. At that moment, I knew there was no fixing this. Alice didn't respect me. Hell, she didn't even see me as her partner. It was all about her dreams, her fun, her life. And I was just an accessory. I pulled out my phone and started searching for divorce attorneys. It felt surreal, like I was crossing some invisible line I couldn't come back from. I found a highly rated lawyer and shot them a message asking for a consultation. It didn't take long for them to respond. We scheduled a meeting for the next day. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was taking control. The next day, I sat across from the attorney, a middle-aged woman with a no-nonsense demeanor. I laid everything out for her, the financial issues, the lack of respect, the constant humiliation. "We can move forward immediately," she said, flipping through her notes. "You'll want to protect your income and assets as soon as possible. I suggest opening a separate bank account and redirecting your paycheck there. If you're serious about this, we'll draft the documents and file them within the week." I nodded. "Yeah, let's do it." By the time I left her office, I had already opened a new account. No more joint expenses. If Alice wanted to live her dream life with that BMW, she could do it on her own dime. A week later, I waited at home in the evening with the divorce papers ready. The house was eerily quiet without Alice's usual chatter or blasting TikTok sounds. I called her a few times, but she didn't answer. She was probably out again, living it up with her friends. I sat on the couch, staring at the clock. The longer I waited, the more it sank in. This was the beginning of the end. I had no idea how she'd react when I handed her those papers, but honestly, I didn't care anymore. I was done being the punchline in her joke of a life. I waited and waited. Hours passed, and Alice was still nowhere to be found. I tried calling her a few more times, but of course, she didn't answer. Every time her voicemail kicked in, my blood pressure rose another notch. She knew I was calling, and she either didn't care or was too busy partying to bother. By the time headlights finally lit up the driveway, it was well past midnight. I heard the sound of a car door closing and footsteps approaching. But it wasn't Alice getting out of her red convertible. No, she'd called a driver to bring her home. When the door swung open, there she was, laughing, stumbling a little, clearly drunk. "Hey, Stevie, you're still up?" she slurred, grinning like an idiot. She kicked off her heels and staggered inside. I crossed my arms, watching her in disbelief. "You've got to be kidding me." She didn't even register the irritation in my voice. Instead, she plopped down on the couch, giggling to herself like she was still at the party. "Oh my God, what a night. We were celebrating, babe. Big milestone, 50,000 followers. Can you believe it? 50 freaking thousand. I'm gonna be famous, Steven. A big-time influencer. Soon I'll be rich and I'll be recognized on the street and then advertising contracts." I stared at her, barely able to process what she was saying. She was celebrating TikTok followers, like this was some major life achievement. My jaw clenched. "Alice, you have no idea how done I am with this. Done with all of it." She blinked, finally noticing the seriousness in my tone. "What's with the face? Chill out. You're always so serious." I shook my head and took a deep breath. It was time. "I don't want to stand in the way of your fame, Alice. So I'm filing for divorce." The room went dead silent. For a split second I thought maybe she'd snap out of it. But then she laughed, like full-on, head-thrown back laughed. "Oh wow. Are you serious right now? Divorce? Over what? Because you're feeling insecure? Oh, Stevie, that's adorable." My stomach churned at the sound of her voice. "This isn't a joke, Alice. I can't do this anymore. Your behavior, your lack of respect for me, it's unbearable. You don't care about this marriage, and you don't even try to understand my point of view." She waved me off, rolling her eyes. "Oh, please. You're such a delicate little flower, aren't you? You can't handle a strong, successful woman with dreams. That's your problem, Stevie boy. You're just a sad little man with a bruised ego. Men like you are a dime a dozen." I felt the anger boiling inside me, but I refused to take the bait. There was no point in arguing with her. I wasn't going to stand there and be her punching bag any longer. Without another word, I turned on my heel and walked toward the guest room. I grabbed a blanket and pillow and threw myself onto the couch. Behind me, I could hear her still rambling, some mix of drunken muttering and more insults, but her words barely registered anymore. Eventually, she stumbled her way to the bedroom, and the house finally fell into silence. I lay awake on the couch, staring at the ceiling, mentally rehearsing what needed to happen next. There was no turning back now. By the time the sun rose, I was already packed. A couple of duffel bags with clothes and essentials, everything I needed to get out of this place for a while. I wasn't going to stay here and endure another day of her disrespect. Alice was still passed out in the bedroom, oblivious to the fact that her husband was leaving. Maybe that was fitting. She'd ignored me emotionally for so long, why not physically too? I grabbed my bags, locked the door behind me, and drove off. My cousin had already agreed to let me crash at his place for a bit. He didn't ask too many questions, which I appreciated. I needed time to figure things out, get my head straight, and prepare for the storm that was coming. Because once Alice realized I was serious about the divorce, I knew all hell would break loose. But for now, I just needed peace. You'd think going through a divorce with someone like Alice would be a hurricane of drama, right? Screaming matches, courtroom theatrics, maybe even some public meltdowns. Hell, I was bracing myself for a full-on soap opera. But the reality? It was shockingly smooth. Alice was so high on herself, so convinced she was destined for fame and fortune, that she treated the whole process like she was the one doing me a favor. It wasn't me divorcing her. No, in her mind, she was releasing me from the privilege of being in her orbit. At the courthouse, she walked in with this confident strut, like she was on a fashion runway instead of dealing with the end of our marriage. After the judge finalized everything, Alice even gave me this smug little grin. You know what, Stephen? I don't even need you. I'll handle all the debt and rent myself because I can. And trust me, you'll be the one envying me soon enough. Envy her? Are you kidding me? I felt a massive weight lift off my chest. It was like I could finally breathe again. No more constant disrespect. No more being dragged into her self-absorbed world. Alice was now just a chapter in my life, a toxic chapter I was more than happy to close. Of course, Alice had to put her spin on the whole thing. In her TikTok and Instagram posts, she crafted this narrative where she was the one who left me. According to her, I was some insecure, dull man who couldn't handle her big energy and ambition. The comments under her videos were filled with thirsty dudes throwing out compliments. You're a queen, Alice. He didn't deserve you. Want to grab coffee sometime? I guess that kind of attention fueled her even more. Me? I didn't care. Let her say whatever she wanted. She wasn't my problem anymore. People could believe whatever fantasy she was selling. For the first time in a long time, I was free. Free to focus on myself, to rebuild without the shadow of Alice looming over me. That said, I'd be lying if I told you I didn't keep tabs on her once in a while. Look, I wasn't obsessed or anything. It was more like morbid curiosity. I'd occasionally check her social media just to see what kind of circus act she was running. Same old Alice, flaunting the car, the followers, the parties. But life has a funny way of balancing the scales. You can only ride that high horse for so long before something or someone knocks you off. And one day, Alice met her match. Let me tell you about a little thing called karma. Ah, karma. It's that silent force in the universe that knows when to step in and shake things up. And for Alice? Well, it didn't take long for life to start knocking her down a few pegs. The first big blow came when her precious red BMW, the car that started all this chaos, was stolen. Yep, some maniac, probably a deranged fan or someone who'd been watching too many of her TikToks, boosted the car right out of her driveway. And get this, they didn't just steal it. They drove it like they were filming a scene from Fast and Furious and totaled it beyond recognition. The police never caught the guy. Maybe they never will. Sure, her insurance might cover some of it, but losing that car hit Alice hard. I mean, it was her prized possession, her ultimate status symbol. Still, in true Alice fashion, she turned the whole ordeal into content. Videos about her tragic experience blew up, and her follower count even spiked. But karma wasn't done with her yet. A few weeks later, Alice's social media accounts were hacked. Some genius managed to get into everything: TikTok, Instagram, you name it. They started posting shady videos promoting sketchy financial scams. It didn't take long before all her accounts were suspended for violating platform rules. Locked out of her entire digital empire, Alice was devastated. She tried to start fresh with new accounts, but rebuilding that follower base wasn't so easy anymore. Her momentum was gone, and the internet has a short attention span. One day you're trending, the next you're yesterday's news. I'll be honest, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But at the same time, I couldn't help thinking, this is what happens when you push your luck too far. When you treat life like a game of constant clout chasing, eventually, the game bites back. But I didn't spend too much time dwelling on it. I had my own life to live, and for the first time in a long time, I was actually happy. I threw myself into the things I'd always wanted to do. I finally bought the car I'd dreamed of, a rugged Toyota 4Runner, and started going on weekend camping trips. There's something about being out in nature, away from all the noise, that clears your mind like nothing else. I even started a small blog, posting photos and videos of my adventures, along with tips on cooking over an open fire. Turns out, there's a whole community of outdoor enthusiasts out there, and connecting with them has been incredible. Work was going great too. I got a promotion, which meant more opportunities to grow. My life was finally moving forward, and it felt damn good. As for dating, I'm not in a rush, but I've learned my lesson. Next time, I'll be a lot more careful about who I let into my life. No more rushing into relationships with someone just because they seem fun and exciting on the surface. I'll look deeper, make sure they're grounded. No more Alice types for me. I'm still young, and I've got my whole future ahead of me. Alice? Well, I don't know what the future holds for her, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. When you take things too far, karma's always waiting in the wings, and sometimes it makes quite the entrance. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to the channel. I wish you a great mood and good luck.